2 pink lines. That's how the weekend ended, quietly on my bathroom floor at 3:47 a.m., while the rest of Minneapolis slept peacefully. I built a life for 5 years and ruined it in 48 hours I can't stop replaying. My hands shake as I calculate the dates again, using my phone's calendar like it might somehow show different results this time. The one time Ben and I were intimate last month, we used a condom. I remember because we'd laughed about how awkward it felt after 5 years together. The math is brutal and simple. There is zero chance this is his baby. My name is Ashley and I'm 30 years old. 2 months ago, I had everything. A loving boyfriend of 5 years, plans to buy a house in Edina, a future that made sense. We'd picked out paint colors. We'd named our future golden retriever. Now I'm pregnant with a stranger's baby, sitting on cold bathroom tiles, and the only person I have to blame is myself. The test stares back at me from the counter. I've taken 5 now, different brands, like maybe CVS would tell me something different than Walgreens, but they all say the same thing. Positive, pregnant, life over. I met Ben when I was 25 at a friend's housewarming party in Uptown. He wasn't my usual type. Quiet, steady, the kind of guy who wore dad jeans unironically and brought a sensible 6-pack of craft beer while everyone else brought White Claws. After years of dating men who made me cry more than they made me smile, Ben felt like coming home. He spent the whole party in the kitchen, helping our host cook instead of playing beer pong in the backyard. I found him there, carefully arranging vegetables on a tray. "You know there's a party happening, right?" I'd teased. He'd looked up with these brown eyes that were so sincere it almost hurt. "Someone has to make sure people eat actual food," he'd said. "Otherwise, tomorrow's hangover is going to be brutal." "You're different," I told him on our 3rd date, meaning it. We were at a bowling alley, his choice, and he'd just offered to put up the bumpers for me after my 3rd gutter ball. "Good different or bad different?" he asked, that shy smile making my heart flutter in a way I wasn't used to. "The best different," I said. And I meant it. For 5 years, I meant it. Until I didn't. Ben worshipped me. That's not an exaggeration. He literally looked at me like I was a goddess who'd somehow deigned to date a mortal. He'd introduce me as my beautiful girlfriend Ashley to everyone, his hand gripping mine a little too tight, as if he was afraid someone better would notice me and I'd vanish. He never seemed to realize that the tighter he held on, the more I felt like I was disappearing. He kept a photo of me as his phone wallpaper. Not us, just me, from a day at the beach where the sunset hit my hair just right. "My angel," he'd called it. Every morning he'd wake up before me to make coffee exactly how I liked it. Oat milk, 2 sugars, a splash of vanilla. He'd leave post-it notes on the bathroom mirror. "Most beautiful woman in the world. Can't believe you're mine. 5 years and still pinching myself." It was sweet. Until it wasn't. The first time I really noticed something was wrong was at my coworker's happy hour. I'd told Ben I'd be home by 8, maybe 9 if we went to dinner after. At 7:45, he showed up at the bar. "Surprise," he said, pulling up a chair at our table. "I knew you were probably hungry, so I brought you dinner." He produced a Tupperware container from a bag. "That quinoa bowl you love." My coworkers exchanged glances. Here I was trying to seem professional and independent, and my boyfriend had brought me dinner like I was a child who forgot their lunchbox. "Ben, I said I might get dinner with everyone." "I know, but this place doesn't have anything healthy, and you said your stomach was upset this morning, so I thought—" He was already opening the container, the smell of reheated quinoa filling the air. "That's so sweet," my boss said in that tone that meant the opposite. It became a pattern. I'd plan a girls' night, and he'd happen to be at the same restaurant just picking up takeout. I'd go to yoga, and he'd be waiting outside with a protein shake. I'd say I was working late, and he'd show up with dinner for my whole team, making me look like I couldn't take care of myself. "Tell them how amazing you are, Ash," he'd say at parties, putting me on display like a trophy. She speaks 3 languages. She got promoted twice this year. She ran a half marathon. I'd smile, but inside I felt numb, like I was playing a character in his perfect relationship story. The Ashley he described wasn't me. She was some idealized version he'd created. His friends would nod politely, their girlfriends would exchange glances I pretended not to see. "You're so lucky," they'd tell him, and he'd beam like he'd won the lottery. "I know," he'd say, squeezing my waist. "I definitely outkicked my coverage with this one." I started to hate that phrase. Outkicked his coverage. Like I was some prize he didn't deserve but somehow managed to win. Like our whole relationship was him getting away with something. The Tuesday before I left for Miami was the breaking point. I'd made plans with Sophie for Thursday night. We were going to try that new wine bar, maybe hit a club after if we felt like it. I'd been looking forward to it for weeks. A chance to feel 25 again instead of like someone's future wife. I was at work when Ben called. I was in the middle of a presentation prep, stressed about a client meeting, when his ringtone, Perfect by Ed Sheeran because of course it was, interrupted my concentration. "Hey babe, quick update. I canceled your thing with Sophie tonight." "What?" "Ben, that's tomorrow night, and I know, but I looked at your calendar and you have that big presentation Friday. You need to be rested." I already called Sophie and explained. She totally understood. "I'm making your favorite chicken piccata. And I already have that lavender bath bomb you like. Trust me, you'll thank me tomorrow." "Ben, you can't just cancel my plans." "I'm taking care of you, Ash. That's what boyfriends do." "Oh, and I also called your boss and told him you seemed stressed, suggested maybe you could present Monday instead. He said he'd think about it." I hung up on him. Actually hung up on my boyfriend of 5 years, something I'd never done before. My hands were shaking with rage. He'd called my boss, he'd canceled my plans, he'd decided what I needed without asking. When I got home that night, he had flowers waiting. "I'm sorry," he said, but his eyes said he wasn't. "I just love you so much, I want to take care of you. Is that so wrong?" "I'm not a child, Ben." "I know that. You're my queen, and queens deserve to be taken care of." I looked at him, earnest, loving Ben who truly believed he was doing the right thing, and felt something inside me snap. I wasn't his queen. I was his captive, a well-fed, well-loved captive, but a captive nonetheless. "You could do better," my sister Rachel told me the next week over wine at her place. We were looking at her wedding photos, and she'd pointed to all the groomsmen. "Look at Tom's friends. Investment bankers, tech guys, that one who started the brewery. You're gorgeous, Ash. You could have any guy you want." "I want Ben," I'd insisted, but even I heard how weak it sounded. "Do you, though? Or are you just so terrified of being alone that you'll settle for a guy who treats you like you're his entire life's accomplishment? Like you're some fragile thing that needs constant monitoring?" "That's not fair, Rach." "Isn't it? When's the last time Ben surprised you with something you actually wanted? When's the last time you felt butterflies? When's the last time you made a decision about your own life without him showing up to manage it?" I'd pushed her words away, but they'd planted a seed. Because the truth was, I couldn't remember. Our sex life had become scheduled, predictable. Every Saturday night, after we'd watched whatever Netflix series we were working through. He'd massage my feet, then my back, then ask, "Is this okay?" At least 3 times before anything happened. 10 minutes later, he'd be asleep, and I'd be staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was all there was. The last 6 months had been brutal. We were both working insane hours, saving for a house. But even our exhaustion was managed. Ben had made us a sleep schedule, a meal prep Sunday routine, a color-coded calendar of our lives that he updated religiously. "We need structure," he'd said. "That's how we'll reach our goals. Our goals. Our future. Our life." But it all felt like his plan that I was supposed to gratefully follow. When our college friends planned separate reunions the same weekend, his in Seattle, mine in Miami, I felt like I could finally breathe. A whole weekend without someone tracking my meals, my sleep, my every movement. The morning I left, Ben had woken up at 5 a.m. to make me breakfast. Egg white omelet, whole wheat toast, fresh fruit arranged in a heart shape. He'd packed my bag while I was in the shower. "To help," he said proudly, presenting it like a gift. I opened it at the airport to find he'd left out my red dress, the one that made me feel confident, alive, the one he said was a bit much for a girl's trip. Instead, he'd packed my conservative work dresses, my one-piece bathing suit, not my bikinis, and a note. "Have fun, but be safe. I made you a list of good restaurants that aren't in sketchy areas. Don't forget to use the buddy system. Text me when you land and before bed each night. Love you more than words." Attached was a printed itinerary. He'd actually researched safe activities for women traveling alone in Miami and made me a schedule. Museum visits, supervised beach yoga, a cooking class. Then I found the tracker, a small GPS device tucked into the inner pocket of my suitcase. "For safety," he'd probably say if I confronted him. "So I know you're okay?" I left it in the airport bathroom trash. I stared at his neat handwriting cataloging approved fun and felt something inside me shatter completely. I was 30 years old, and my boyfriend had literally tried to track me like a teenager. I needed to break free, even just for a night. "Have fun, baby," Ben said, kissing me goodbye at the airport. 3 pecks, like always? He lifted my bag with the wrist that still wore the bracelet I'd bought him for our anniversary, a leather band that said "Forever and Always." "Don't let any of those Miami guys steal you away." I laughed. "Never. You're stuck with me." "I'm counting on it," he said, that earnest smile breaking my heart a little. "I'll probably just order pizza and play video games with the guys. Living wild while you're gone. Oh, and I installed that location sharing app on your phone, just in case." His idea of wild was playing Call of Duty until 11 p.m. instead of 10. God, when had we become so controlled? If only I'd meant what I said. If only I'd been the person he thought I was. If only I'd wanted to be tracked and monitored and managed for the rest of my life. The flight to Miami was 3 hours of freedom. No one asking if I needed anything. No one adjusting my air vent for me. No one explaining the safety features I already knew. I ordered a gin and tonic at 11 a.m. and felt like a rebel. I turned off my phone and felt like a fugitive. The first night in Miami, Sophie had rented a penthouse suite at the Fontainebleau. 15 floors up, ocean view, the kind of place that cost more per night than most people made in a week. Sophie had married money, a hedge fund guy 20 years older who traveled constantly and didn't ask questions about her credit card bills. "Ladies," she'd shrieked when I walked in, already 3 champagne flutes in. "Ashley's here. Now the party can really start. Did you turn off your phone? Good girl. What Ben doesn't know won't hurt him." The suite was packed. Our college crew, plus Sophie's Miami friends. Women who looked like they'd stepped out of a fashion magazine, all lips and legs and designer everything. I felt underdressed in my jeans and nice top, the outfit Ben had approved as classy but not trying too hard. We drank champagne that cost more than my car payment, pretended we were 22 again. The music was loud, the sunset was perfect, and for the first time in months I felt alive. God, I love my husband, but sometimes I miss the thrill, Megan sighed, 3 drinks in. She was sprawled on the white leather couch, her wedding ring catching the light. "Remember when we didn't know who we'd wake up next to? When every night could be an adventure? Don't you ever miss it, Ash?" "Ashley's been with the same guy since forever," Sophie laughed, refilling my glass without asking. "She doesn't know what she's missing." "Ben's great," I said automatically. "Stable is for retirement accounts," Sophie added, rolling her eyes. "Not for your 30s. When's the last time he made your heart race? When's the last time you felt that can't eat, can't sleep, can't think about anything else passion?" I opened my mouth to defend him, to defend us, but nothing came out. Because the truth was, Ben had never made me feel that way. He'd made me feel safe, loved, secure, monitored, controlled, but never consumed, never out of control, never truly dangerously alive. That's what I thought, Sophie smirked. Ladies, I think it's time we reminded Ash what she's been missing. Then Jake walked in. I need you to understand, I'd never seen a man that looked like Jake in real life. 6'4", built like a Marvel superhero with this cocky smile that said he knew exactly what he did to women. He was Sophie's boyfriend's cousin, in town for some modeling shoot for Calvin Klein, and he moved through the room like he owned it. He wore a white linen shirt, unbuttoned just enough to show a chest that belonged on a magazine cover. His jeans fit like they were tailored for him. His hair was that perfect messy that took effort but looked effortless. When he laughed at something someone said, his whole face transformed. Every woman in the room turned to stare. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. He was that magnetic. Holy shit, Megan whispered. Who is that? Trouble, Sophie giggled, but her eyes were gleaming with mischief. Absolute trouble, Jake Martinez. He slept with half of Miami, leaves a trail of broken hearts everywhere he goes. They call him the Hurricane because he blows through your life and leaves destruction. Introduce me, Megan demanded. You're married, I reminded her. So I can't look, can't talk. Jesus, Ash, loosen up. When did you become Ben? The comment stung because it was true. When had I become the person policing everyone else's fun? But Jake wasn't looking at Megan. He'd locked eyes with me across the room, and something in his gaze made my stomach flip. It was predatory, confident, like he'd already decided I was his for the night, and my opinion on the matter was just a formality. He caught me staring and walked over like he owned the place, like he owned me already. The crowd seemed to part for him. Sophie grabbed Megan's arm, pulling her away with a knowing smile. And you are? He asked. Those green eyes locked on mine. Up close, he was even more devastating. He smelled expensive. Cologne that probably cost more than my rent, mixed with something dangerous. Taken, I should have said. In a committed relationship. My boyfriend tracks my location. Instead, I said, Ashley. Ashley, he repeated, like he was tasting my name. His accent, was it Spanish, Portuguese, made it sound exotic. Dance with me, Ashley. It wasn't a question. I should have said no. I should have pointed to a non-existent ring and walked away. I should have thought about Ben, home in Minneapolis, probably already checking his tracking app, wondering why I was at a hotel instead of Sophie's apartment. But when Sophie's words, stable, retirement accounts, echoed in my head, my feet moved toward him on their own. Just one dance, I told myself. A harmless dance to feel something, anything other than managed. The music was loud, something Latin with a beat that demanded movement. Jake's hands found my waist immediately, pulling me against him with a confidence that Ben would never have. He moved like dancing was foreplay, like every roll of his hips was a promise. You're not a Miami girl, he said into my ear, his breath warm against my neck. How can you tell? Miami girls know better than to dance with me. That smile was pure sin. Where's home? Minneapolis. Cold city, cold bed? I have a boyfriend. The words came out weak, unconvincing. Where is he? Jake asked, spinning me so my back was against his chest, his hands on my hips. Seattle boys' weekend. Then he's not here. His logic was flawless to my drunk brain. What happens in Miami stays in Miami, no? One dance became two became five. The champagne made everything fuzzy, made his hands on my waist feel like fire, made the guilt dissolve like sugar in water. He danced like he did everything else, with complete confidence, like he knew exactly what he was doing to me. You're beautiful, he said, but not the way Ben said it. Ben said it like a prayer, like worship. Jake said it like a fact, like he was cataloging my assets. That boyfriend doesn't deserve you. You don't know him. I don't need to. I can see it in how you move. You're caged, restricted. When's the last time someone made you feel free? Between my third and fourth tequila shot, when had we switched from champagne? Jake produced a hotel room key like a magic trick, slipped it into my hand while we danced, his fingers lingering on my palm. I have a boyfriend, I said again, but we both knew I was going to use that key. You said that already, he murmured, his lips brushing my ear. But you're still here, still dancing, still looking at me like you're starving, and I'm a feast. This is wrong, my last attempt at resistance. The best things usually are. I remember following him to his room, remember the elevator ride that felt like falling, remember him pushing me against the door the second it closed, his mouth on mine before I could change my mind. Remember thinking, this is what I've been missing. He kissed like he danced, with purpose, with skill, with the confidence of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. His hands were in my hair, on my waist, everywhere at once. He didn't ask permission. He took, and I gave. And somewhere in the taking and giving, I lost myself completely. He didn't ask, he decided, and I let him. I said yes to things I'd always said no to, and I don't know which part I hate more. The part where I betrayed Ben, or the part where I loved every second of it. We barely left that room for 2 days. The Miami sun rose and set, and I missed it all. I remember the room service trays stacked with empty plates, champagne bottles floating in melted ice. The sunrise over Biscayne Bay through curtains we never fully closed, painting his skin gold. He never seemed to stop, never seemed to tire. I was loud enough to get a knock on the wall from the next room, then another, then security called to check if everything was all right. Your boyfriend's a lucky man, Jake said Sunday morning, watching me get dressed. My body ached in ways that were foreign, thrilling, shameful. There were marks I'd have to hide, stories written on my skin that Ben could never read. Why do you say that? Because you're incredible. Didn't know good girls could be so bad. He stretched like a cat, completely comfortable in his nakedness, in what we'd done. That thing you did with your... Don't, I cut him off. Just don't. Good girls are always my favorite, he continued, ignoring me. They never think about the consequences, never think about protection, never think at all, really. My blood froze. We hadn't used protection, not once, not even the first time when I still had some sense left. He'd been so confident, so in control, and I'd been so desperate to feel something, anything, that I'd let him lead me off a cliff. You didn't... I couldn't finish the sentence. I'm clean if that's what you're worried about. Got tested for a shoot last week. Besides, he shrugged, already scrolling through his phone, already moving on. You're on birth control, right? Good girls always are. This was a mistake, I said, my voice shaking. If you say so, Jake shrugged, not even looking up from his phone. But you'll be thinking about this weekend every time your boyfriend touches you. Comparing, wishing it was me. They always do. I'm not they. He laughed, finally looking at me. Ashley, right? From Minnesota? Minneapolis, I corrected, hating that he'd already started forgetting. Right. Well, Ashley from Minneapolis, you just spent 48 hours doing things you told him you'd never do, screaming my name loud enough for the whole floor to hear. You think you're going to go back to your safe, boring life and be satisfied? Good luck with that. I flew home in a fog of guilt and self-loathing. Every movement reminded me of what I'd done. I could still smell him on my skin despite 3 showers, could still feel the ghost of his hands, his mouth, his complete ownership of my body for 2 days. Ben picked me up from the airport, all smiles and stories about his weekend. We went to this great brew pub, played some pool. Mike's getting married, can you believe it? Oh, and I fixed that squeaky cabinet door that's been driving you crazy. And I noticed you didn't have your location on all weekend. The app kept sending me alerts. Your phone must have died. When he leaned in to kiss me, I pulled away slightly. He tasted like toothpaste and loyalty, everything Jake wasn't. He didn't notice my flinch, too excited to have me home. "How was Miami?" he asked, taking my bag. The same bag he'd packed with such care, with a tracker I'd thrown away. "Good," I lied, the word ash in my mouth. "Just caught up with the girls. Pretty boring. You know, spa day, beach, lots of girl talk." "I missed you so much," he said, taking my hand. His palm was soft, familiar, wrong. "The house felt empty without you. I actually cooked that new recipe you wanted to try. It's in the fridge for tomorrow. Oh, and I made us appointments to look at houses this weekend. I think I found the perfect one." I became the perfect girlfriend after that. Cooked his favorite meals, initiated affection, told him I loved him constantly. If I could just be good enough now, maybe it would erase what I'd done. Maybe I could forget the way Jake had made me feel. Alive, desired, consumed, but I was different. My body had awakened to something it couldn't forget. When Ben touched me gently, carefully, asking, "Is this okay?" I remembered Jake taking what he wanted. When Ben finished in 5 minutes with an apology, I remembered hours of Jake, relentless and skilled. When Ben held me after, telling me he loved me, I remembered Jake's dismissive laugh, already forgetting my name. "You seem different," Ben said one night, 3 weeks later. "More, I don't know, distant, but also more affectionate. It's confusing." "I just missed you," I lied, hating how easily the words came. That weekend apart made me realize how much I love you, how much I appreciate what we have. "I love you too," he said, pulling me close. I could feel his heartbeat, steady and true. "Hey, I've been thinking, maybe we should start trying for kids once we get the house. I mean, we're 30, we're stable, we love each other. I've already started researching the best prenatal vitamins, and I found this great doula. What do you think?" Kids. With Ben. The future we'd planned. He'd probably track their every movement too, schedule their lives down to the minute. "Yeah," I said, my stomach churning. "That sounds perfect." But bodies don't lie, even when we do. 6 weeks later, my period was late. Then later, then gone. "It's probably just stress," I told myself, buying a pregnancy test at a CVS 3 towns over where no one would recognize me. Then another at Walgreens. Then 3 more at Target, because maybe different brands would give different results. All positive, all undeniable, all life-destroying. I sat in the doctor's office the next day, watching the ultrasound screen, my whole body numb. 6 weeks, 2 days, the technician said cheerfully, gel cold on my belly. "Everything looks great. Is Dad involved? Should we schedule his first appointment too?" I couldn't answer. My throat had closed up completely. "Ma'am, are you okay? Was this planned?" "I need a minute," I managed, and then I was running to the bathroom, throwing up nothing because I hadn't eaten in 2 days. The math was simple, brutal, undeniable. There was 0 chance this was Ben's. I sat on the bathroom floor that night, staring at the white tile grid. 24 tiles across, 36 down. I counted them over and over, like maybe if I found the right number, this would all disappear. I've been counting squares and weeks, and nothing adds up to forgiveness. Ben found me there an hour later. "Ash, honey, what's wrong? Are you sick?" I looked up at him, sweet, stable Ben who'd never hurt me, who'd never hurt anyone, who'd probably already picked out prenatal vitamins, and knew I had to destroy him. So I told him. Sat him down at our kitchen table, the one we'd bought together at IKEA, assembled while drinking wine and laughing at the instructions. My hands shook so hard I had to sit on them. "I need to tell you something," I started. "Are you okay? You're scaring me." He reached for my hand and I pulled away. "Is it about the house? Because if you don't like the one I found, we can keep looking. I have a whole spreadsheet of options." "I slept with someone in Miami," I whispered. The words hung between us like a blade. I watched his face change. Watched the Ben I knew disappear and something harder take his place. He flinched, but his voice was steady. Okay. A long silence that lasted forever. When? The whole weekend. The whole... He stood up, sat down, stood up again. How many times? Does it matter? Everything matters now. His voice was so quiet. Was it better than us? The word lodged in my throat. It was different. Different how, Ashley? He pressed, his voice dropping to a terrifying calm I'd never heard before. Tell me exactly how it was different. I need to know. And so, question by painful question, he made me build the funeral pyre for our relationship. He was methodical about it, like he was doing taxes, gathering every brutal detail. Did you use protection? No. Did you know him before? No. What was his name? Jake. How many times? I don't know. Many. Did you... His voice cracked. Did you do things with him you won't do with me? Yes. He asked about things I'd told him I didn't like, and I had to admit I'd done them. Asked if I'd been loud, and I had to whisper yes. Asked if I'd thought about him at all, and I had to say no. Each answer was a fresh knife I handed him, and he just kept asking for more. Why? His voice was broken now. Just tell me why. I've loved you for 5 years. I've been faithful, supportive, I've tried to give you everything. Why wasn't it enough? I could have lied, could have blamed the alcohol, the distance, the stress. But he deserved the truth, even if it would destroy him. Because you made me feel safe, I said, and I wanted to feel alive. I tried to protect you, to take care of you, to give you the perfect life. I didn't want perfect, Ben. I wanted to be able to breathe. Stop, Ben finally said, running to the bathroom. I heard him throwing up, violent and painful. When he came back, he looked like a stranger, older, harder, done. There's more, I said, because he needed to know. I'm pregnant. The silence that followed was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Is it mine? The hope in his voice broke my heart all over again. No, the math doesn't work. That one time with protection. This is 6 weeks. He laughed then, bitter and sharp. Of course it is. Of course you're pregnant with some random guy's baby. That's perfect. That's just fucking perfect, Ashley. He'd never cursed at me before, never raised his voice. This new Ben scared me more than if he'd screamed. Get out, he said. Ben, please. Get out! The scream came from somewhere deep, primal, wounded. Get out of my house, get out of my life. Get your things and get out, or I swear to God. He didn't finish, didn't need to. I grabbed my purse and ran, leaving behind 5 years of safe, stable love for a weekend I couldn't take back. I sit on Sophie's couch in yesterday's clothes, counting hours like I used to count tiles. She's at work, and I'm alone with my thoughts and this baby that shouldn't exist. My phone buzzes. Ben's already changed the locks, canceled our joint cards, removed me from the house hunting spreadsheet. 5 years deleted in 5 hours. I am the one who cried after, not because I was broken, but because I broke everything. And this time no one's coming to save me, not even me.